Welcome back to your favorite breakfast show on the radios. It's the Morning Splash, and I'm Ronke Giwa Onafuwa. How are you doing this morning? I hope you woke up on the right side of the bed, and I hope that, well, the morning started for you. I know it's a bad one. Sometimes in the morning, things can be a little slow. I think by this time, 8 o'clock, people are already, out and about, just going on their school runs and trying to get to work. And I really hope you have a great day. I really hope you have one of those days where at the end, you feel really fulfilled. You feel really satisfied. You feel really content. So welcome back on the show. This is Beyond the Surface. And of course, we're going to be talking about women for some time. And you know how sometimes when you talk about women, men, you also see men go out of the chat. Men leave the chat. But it's interesting because you can't talk about men without talking about women. You can't talk about women without talking about men. And I think that in this day and age where a lot of people are fighting for equality, are fighting for women empowerment, sometimes men take that to be as if you're trying to leave them out of the situation, or you're trying to get women to lord over them. But that's not it at all. Oftentimes when you talk about empowering women, because I feel that if you have a country or a place where women are empowered, you will find that when you get to that kind of place, it's more civilized, it's a better place. It's because women bring so much to the table. And I'm so excited to talk to my guest today. Yesterday was International Women's Day. We've gone around to talk to a few people to tell us, because the theme of yesterday's event, and really the whole of the year, is choose to challenge. And for me, I'm definitely choosing to challenge all the stereotypes and bias that women face every day. Women still face things like, why aren't you in the kitchen? Women still hear things like, why are you in the boardroom? Women still hear things like, why should I pay you as much as your male counterpart? So I choose to challenge such, biases that women still tend to face in 2021. By the way. All right. So I'm going to be talking to my guests, not just about this, but a few other things as well. So I'd definitely like you to stay tuned. And like we said, we sampled a few, thoughts and, comments from people out there. And they were able to tell us some of the things, the limiting beliefs that they are choosing to challenge as well. There are beliefs out there that women still, which include things like female genital mutilation. There are places where they still believe that, if you cut to women, then they will be less promiscuous. Yes, absolutely. As absurd as that sounds, that's still the reality of people out there. So we're going to talk about the International Women's Day, which was officially yesterday, but I believe that the month of March really is dedicated to International Women's Month. So I do hope that you come with us and join this conversation with us in your home. We'd love for you to participate as well. At some point, hopefully, we will be opening phone lines. So my guest today is Mrs. Stella Akinso. She's a public health practitioner with a strong background in reproductive health and family planning. She studied population and reproductive health in Cardiff, United Kingdom, and has got a master's in public health from Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, Nigeria. Mrs. Akinso is the Oyo State team leader of the Nigerian Urban Reproductive Health Initiative, NORI. It was founded in 2009. It's an initiative that helps to improve health and socio-economic status of women of the state. It helps to improve the use of modern family planning method among the urban poor in Nigeria. Mrs. Akinso has been a public health practitioner for over 30 years. And it was interesting because I was talking to her right before we came on air. I beg your pardon? She was telling me how, the campaign, the NORI campaign, which is actually founded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, is actually sort of coming to an end. They're being around for about 11 years now. Good morning, ma'am. So good to have you back here. I know you've been here a few times, but I'm glad to have you here.
Good morning, Ronke. Good to see you again.
Very good
to see you. Listeners. And there's beautiful women in the studio here.
Yeah.
It's good to be back here, actually.
Right. And how does it feel with the NORI campaign coming to an end? How does that
feel?
Actually,
it has ended. Oh. What we're just doing is hand over to the government.
Okay.
So there's no NORI anymore.
Oh, no NORI anymore. And for those, let me just jig the memory of those who may have heard like this radio drama, this family planning radio drama, which used to air here on Splash and sensitize women and the public generally on how to go about family planning.
Absolutely.
And how successful do you think that the campaign was?
Oh, yeah. It was quite successful. Before we began NORI, we had a baseline survey
Right.
And then we had midterm survey.
Okay.
And the end-line survey. And, we had tremendous, increase in terms of contraceptive prevalence.
Right.
We started with, in Oyo State, with 18.4% contraceptive prevalence rates. And we moved after 5 years to 24.4%.
Wow.
And then as we speak, we're still between 36%, although some have said this maybe 22.6.
Okay.
But the truth again is that we've been able to move from that 18% where we were to this percent that we are in now. The campaign has been entrenched. And so in the local community and everywhere, people tend to know about family planning.
Yes.
It has become a social norm than it was before. So people openly talk about family planning.
Right.
And then, of course, we see men also who hitherto were resisting. The ground is softer, actually.
Right.
And more men are getting aware of the need to support their wives or the spouses to use family planning.
Right.
And of course, we know that there's a link between family planning and maternal mortality and infant mortality.
Absolutely.
So for us in Oyo State, and I want to believe that the government is doing a lot to ensure that they improve the health of women. And so the government has this, they call Tomotia program.
Okay.
And I would like to believe that it's an offshoot of what we have done and what they want to continue to do to promote the health of women and children. Because when we promote the health of women, of course, we are also promoting the health of children.
Exactly.
And into a large extent, the entire society.
Yes,
and so
absolutely.
that's basically what the program had been able to achieve. I think we've been able to break some of the norms and also disabuse people, disabuse the minds of people from those old tales of family planning is meant for, is done by people who are promiscuous, who want to have extramarital
without the burden of having children.
Yeah,
and I think one of the things we often hear about family planning, which also I think is wrong, is only a woman's problem. So even in homes, the man who said, go and get family planning, how can we involve more men, especially in light of International Women's Day? How can we involve more men in the decision in family? Because there are some women who even have reactions to some of the family planning methods. So some women start to have mood swings or even get depressed and hormonal issues. So how can we involve more men in family planning?
All right. So, as we celebrate the International Women's Day, what we, the slogan is, I choose to challenge.
Yes.
So I think to get more men is to choose to challenge those stereotypes that say family planning is only for women.
Business. Exactly.
It's not my business.
Yes.
It's to challenge the norm, the cultural, some obnoxious practices that we know that are not, they won't do anything good, for us, particularly in our quest to improve the social and economic development of our people. So one of the things that we try to do is to engage men, and strategically too. Not just telling them to allow their women to use family planning, but to look at where are the male groups, where are they located, what groups are here. So we have, what are the typical male groups that we can engage? Can we find them in NURTW? Can we find them in butchers, meat sellers association? Can we find them in Okada riders? Can we find them in churches or in mosques, in religious setting? And so where we find them, where we identify these different groups of male-dominated kind of group.
Yes.
And then we strategically engage them and let them know and see the difference and see what comes to them also. Because if they know what is in need for them, they'll probably embrace it. What's in need for male is that when women are healthy, they also are healthy. Absolutely. And then women are able to bring more money home when they are healthy. They are able
they can support.
They can support and then get engaged in economic activities and, use that fund to, for us in Nigeria, if you ask, we have done, studies and we've seen that most people well, this is not to say that men are not responsible, but if you ask many people, they will tell you they were brought up by their women, by their mothers,
yes.
and the school, in terms of paying school fees. We will say, my mom sent me to school.
Yes.
It's my mom selling the who it's my mom's money. That's all of these things. So it's important that men will realize this and also provide that needed support to ensure that they also participate in ensuring that women's health, it's focused on.
Prioritized, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love what you say about how sensitizing men. So when you know what is in it for you, because obviously everybody is trying to look out for themselves. And I think that's always been the case and why we've always been male focused. So in trying to bring the women in, men often seem to get threatened when you talk about equality, for example. They think, a feminist is coming here to try and be better or try and say they can do what men can do, etc. I mean, how do you get that kind of... I can imagine people who are educated, who already know now that if I work in the same capacity as you, we're doing the same work, we should get the same kind of pay. But how do you send that message down to, the rural areas without it seeming like, hey, okay, they want to make women men. They want to lord it over men. How do you send that message without it being threatening, I guess?
Interestingly, the men, even in the rural communities, are getting to know that they need the women for them to be able to, they say a bird cannot fly with one wing, and this is Yoruba adage: if you wash your hand with one hand alone, it's not going to be clean until you use the two hands to wash each other. I think that's Yoruba.
Something like that, yes.
Yes, adage. So I think in the communities also they are getting to know that. Once if you get the gatekeepers. If you get the influencers and then you are able to get them to understand deeply what this portends for them, the possibility is that they're going to embrace it. And so I'll give you an example. I'm not going to mention them. We went to one community somewhere in Okeogu area. And we spoke about family planning, and we spoke about the fact that family planning can reduce maternal death by about 30%.
So the women stop dying, the cases of women dying will decline.
Yes, will decline. And that if women don't die during childbirth, then it's possible that the babies who they give birth to will not also die. Because if a woman dies during childbirth, the baby is given to somebody else, and then the baby is tossed here and there, and there's a 50% chance of the baby dying or living. So if we try and do a smart advocacy by ensuring that they have a clear understanding of the linkage between these reproductive health of their women and how it brings health to the entire population. They will engage.
Understand.
And then, of course, going there is not to go to the community to say, we want you to empower the women. We need to dialogue with them. And, even as we celebrate the International Women's Day, and we are actually challenging, those stereotypes, the gender inequality, the gender-based violence, and all the other, everything that you can think of, mutilation, and all of that. In the communities, they are beginning to say that there is no need for cutting women anymore. Because when we explained to them that,
you're the one that won't enjoy your wife.
Yes.
If you keep cutting all the women.
Because we have all seen communities right here in Yoruba land who don't do it.
Yes.
And that does not mean that the women are promiscuous in those communities.
Yes.
I'm not going to mention, but we know that there are certain areas, even in Yoruba land, where they don't do a female genital cutting. Yes. But there are certain areas where they do it. And then, of course, we have seen some of the risk. So many risks. Bleeding, infection.
Yes.
The scarification in terms of when it becomes very fibrous. Pardon me, Nari. Keloid can form. It can become fibrous, and so when the woman is actually bringing the baby, we pushes through that, and it tears everything apart, and then the woman begins to bleed. If she bleeds, then she gets her blood replaced. That's good enough. But she can also get what we call the vertical vaginal fistula,
exactly.
and she can live with that for the rest of her life. So there's so many things. So when we explain to them, we don't only talk about that. We show them clips. We show them, real life situation.
Yes.
We bring people who have issues relating to that, and they are able to relate.
Right.
And then, some of them will say, "Oh, is that there was some time, I did, cutting for my baby girl, and we tried to use the juice of snail, but it didn't stop." And so we had to take the baby to the hospital, and then the nurses were so mad at us, and so we decided so there's actually some people who share their experiences, and then
learned from the experience.
Yes, and then of course we take those people to talk to the people in the community,
right?
Because seeing is believing, actually.
Okay, for those who are just joining us, you've missed a lot, but don't worry, there's still a bit more. I'm talking to Mrs. Stella Akinso, who's a public health practitioner with a strong background in reproductive health family planning, and she studied population. And for a woman that has been bound for so long, when you open the gates and say, now you're free, some women would rather stay in, bound, or do not know how to come out. And we're going to talk to her about that after this short commercial break. Please don't go away.
Wait till you wait for. You no need to stress at all. Say if I don't pause. Make we jolly they go. Even small picking, mommy, daddy, better life for you. Boya bruku tutu komaro. Sisi eko, I beg no dey slow. Tell bank better life, bro. It done day, ask for your food for you. 30,000 what's up, people? For 50 people every week, so they sit down for your seat. That's the opportunity, yo. Send it better life, bro. Send it bank account. Send it better life, bro. Minimum 5,000 naira. Send it better life, bro. Send it debit card. Send it better life.
For more information, visit www.zenithbank.com/betterlife. Zenith Bank.